So I guess this is the Sluggy Freelance panel, which any of you have seen me do these panels before, which I know some of you have. You know I'm absolutely unprepared for any of this. I tend to run it more as a Q&A, so instead of me guessing what you guys are interested in me talking about, I just let you ask me and we go from there. So does anyone have any interesting questions to get the ball rolling? No one? Oh.
What's it been like going back to the roots? Have you looked at the archives to remind yourself what you used to do?
Well, you know, for the longest time, I kept it all in my head really, really well. But it turns out I'm getting old. And the older I get, the more it's like I'm not quite sure of the details. But luckily, there's actually a Sluggy Nifty search where I can search my own dialogue to find out exactly what happened. When I'm always going to that thing, like just to double check stuff. And I am constantly like catching myself some mistakes. I mean, did you guys see? Was it yesterday's strip with Bum Bun and is everyone caught up on the strip? Is everyone here know who I am and know what I do and read like I read like the last week of strips in particular, right? Is that a yes for everyone? There's no in the back. Do you mind having any spoilers or? Yeah. All right. So Zoe and Bun Bun are talking, and Bun Bun kind of rubs up against Zoe's hand to show her where he was burned by Oasis. And I dropped the whole comic, wrong side of the face. Now, I should know this. I should know that there was one thing I thought I knew for sure. And so I went back and looked and I'm like, oh, crap. So I had it half inked and half penciled. So I scanned it in, like, this will be good for Defenders. I'll put it up there. See what an idiot I am. See, that's what Defenders get. But then I noticed I could actually flip a couple of the panels and it worked. It almost never works, by the way, to flip panels, especially for me, because I almost do my art italicized. It's like, one of the tricks they tell you in art school is like when you're done with a picture you think you've done really well, hold it up to the mirror and see what it looks like, and you go, oh my God, that one arm is way longer than the other, and it only has one eye. You don't notice this until you see it reversed. So I reversed them, they actually worked, so I didn't have to do the whole thing over from scratch. But yes, now I have to actually reference myself sometimes. But the reactions forums also keeps me honest, because if I get something wrong, believe me, I see it. I see it loud and clear. Oh, actually, before I get to your question, I wanted to also say, on top of everything else, I am still suffering from a sinus infection a little bit, which means I might start breaking out into a coughing fit of some kind. I'm just explaining I'm not probably dying, no matter how bad it sounds. You know, that sounds like a great idea. You know, I thought they'd had water in the back of the... Guess I'm not that important. I don't warn a glass of water. We'll try to say anything important until you get back. So Sluggy Freelance means...
How often do you use that one?
What?
How often do you use that joke?
It's very rare that people have to run out and get me some water. Thank you very much. I'd get up to say thank you, but my back hurts. Man, I am old.
I just searched my bag for painkillers, but no.
Thank you. There's an interesting story about my sinus infection I may share with you later if we run out of questions. So what was your question?
There have been so many storylines over the years. Do you have a particular favorite, one that really spoke to you? Or are they just all kind of children like what you're working on now? Best of all time?
It's kind of a complicated answer because at different points in my life, there's different ones that I kind of gravitate more towards. I mean, I think Fire and Rain will always be one of my favorites, and That Which Redeems as a whole arc probably hits a lot for me. And For You City had a lot I love too. So yeah, I guess I do kind of gravitate towards what I'm working on. Yeah, I think That Which Redeems is one of my favorites that I've done so far. I think it could have been possibly because I knew exactly where it was going the whole time I was working on it. I actually had a thumbnail of Torg jumping off that mountain of bones with the Horibus below and the chapel kind of tilted. Like I knew that was where it was going the whole time, which made it kind of tough to write parts and tough to execute parts because I knew where it was going. But at the same time, I think it came off exactly the way I wanted it to.
Is it unusual for you to know where it's going the whole time?
To that I'm going to mess up the word specificity, very specifically. Not as much of that solid picture. I mean, every time I start a story, I kind of know what the ending's going to be, because I personally feel that if you get to the end of a journey and there's not like a decent ending there, then it almost makes the time you spent traveling not as worthwhile. So I want to make sure it was a worthwhile trip to get there. So I have a really good ending in mind every time I start a story, in my mind, in my point of view. The characters sometimes spin it off in different directions, though. You reminded me, there was another story that had a very, very specific ending that I managed to nail the ending. And the ending was getting Riff to say to Zoe, "Gee, Zoe, I'm sorry your boyfriend got eaten by kittens." that was the last frame. I'm like, I gotta get to there. So that what I managed. All right. Did I answer that question?
Yeah.
Well enough? I mean, sometimes I talk and I ramble, I get distracted by what I'm saying, and I get to the end and I didn't actually answer the question. Yes?
No, I just finished the For You City storyline. One, you're an insane genius.
No, thank you.
Just have to throw that out there. Did you plan that, really? I mean, because when they got into, like, recap mode, it was kind of like dialogue after dialogue after dialogue. I was like, he has to have this written down somewhere, because otherwise...
Well, I'm not sure your question, why did I use so
With
much
the old-
long-winded
with the
exposition
old-
when I should have done it in a better way? I don't
When
know.
the old riff started, like, explaining everything, it seems like you had to have copious notes there to get that all right, because otherwise it's just gonna...
It was the same thing I did with Oceans Unmoving. It was a three-dimensional situation that was crystal clear in my mind, very easy to explain, until I sat down to start explaining it. And then it's like paragraph after paragraph, and it's like, oh, I have to edit this back, and I can't put this point out. And it's like, oh my God, we're gonna be here all week with this guy. Which is why I kind of apologized during Old Riff Exposition Week. I did find it funny, or somewhat amusing in the reaction forum, because at some point, I'm not sure if I think I'm remembering this accurately. Someone was so sick and tired of seeing Old Riff just do dialogue balloon after dialogue balloon, because that was the best way I had found to get the story out as quickly as possible. Then I do something like I did with the recap artwork, where Torg, says what he did with Minimaster. It's one picture. It's like, see, that's the way you do it, Pete. Like, but I'm telling you information you already know. I can do a doodle then. Like just refresh your mind to it. Old Riff was saying new stuff. New stuff, I can't just draw a picture and assume I can't draw a nanite, and they're like, oh, nanite 3.0, I get how that medical situation works. You know what I mean? Like, well, in any case. I thought it
charts
was...
and diagrams. You're like, this means nothing to you.
Exactly.
How long did that whole giant montage of the recap take? It looked like a really long piece.
The For You City,
Yeah.
It took me, I want to say 2 full days of sitting there working on it. What was funny was that was not exactly planned. Do you ever, actually, does any of you have a program book? On the autographs page at the bottom is Riff's recap of the Minimaster story. It's basically the one shot of his group in the middle, surrounded by the Minimaster villains. Yeah, that's Torg's, that's what I said? Ah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Torg's recap, which was kind of like that. So what I had listed was Bun did the Oasis recap with a little help from Riff. Torg did the Minimaster recap, and I'm like, okay, Riff will do For You City. I'm allowing about as much space. I'll just do kind of a montagey thing and be done with it. When I sat down to do it, I was like, well, I missed some key points here. Like it wasn't just and Riff was here and did this. It was like, well, Riff started in this position, and then we gotta show the drug-induced coma he started out in, and then there's the revolution, and then there's and Rammer played a big role, and then as I started mapping it out, it became this whole page. And then when I finished the whole page, I'm like, oh man, I missed like half the story, and then it spread out into 2 pages, which, by the way, it actually is laid out already as a horizontal, like for a book layout. So it's done on 2 pieces that fit both like above each other and side to side. So that took a little bit of planning too. But I didn't know it was going to take me that long when I started working on it, and so that was kind of a surprise. But yeah, I think it came out pretty good.
You have a whole studio at home where you're working, or are you just in front of the TV watching ESPN with a little notepad?
Yeah, I have kids. No, I'm watching Hannah Montana and Wizards of Waverly Place. Pity me. Actually, yeah, I have an office in my home. I have an art desk where I work on all the artwork. I have a separate station where I do all the computer work. So. Yeah, it's no, I can't get a lot of work done in front of the TV. In fact, I can't get work done when there's people in the house. So yeah, so I've been kind of struggling lately because I went from working ahead to go on a vacation with the family to a beach house, and I had to get some work done at the beach house where we were evacuated from because of the hurricane. Then the hurricane showed up, then I lost power for like 5 days.
Were you in Jersey Shore?
Yeah, I was on Long Beach Island. When,
We were in Ocean City, and
Yeah.
you know, we got the same treatment.
oh, when did you find out about it? Because I was in a store.
Oh, we were buying groceries to like make food for 3 days.
Yeah.
And then got out of the grocery store and got home and saw it on TV and went, okay, I guess we're buying a cooler like in 6 months.
For us, we found out about the mandatory evacuation because the store clerk, there was no notification for us that we needed to evacuate. It was just we have to overhear the local townsfolk saying, "Oh, we have to evacuate." It's like, you guys have to evacuate and we don't? No, we all have to evacuate. I'm like, oh man.
Look, you stay here. Here's a camera. Just attach it to your wall.
Yeah, exactly. So I went from the evacuation to the storm to losing power for 5 days. As soon as the power clicked on, my parents came by for a week visit because they normally show up around this time because normally I'm in Dragon Con for that week, so they help out with the kids. So I had a house full of people for a week, and that capped off with the sinus infection coming back in. So I had a pretty rough month. But yeah, I didn't mean to use your question as an excuse to complain a lot, but apparently I did anyway.
All friends here.
Yeah.
Will you be naming some future villain?
What was that?
Will you be naming some future villain, Irene?
No, but I did name Katya as Riff's girlfriend. If you picked up the next hurricane, I think I'm possibly running through all of his girlfriends in like some future the girlfriends you never knew about, and have them all go alphabetical order in 1 year of hurricanes. I'll have to find some like maybe I'll go back to 1997 and find out the alphabetical list of hurricanes for that year and just list out his girlfriends. Don't tell anyone. So, the next question. And like I said, if I fail to answer a question properly, feel free to call me on it.
Well, it seems like you've got a really large arc going now. Nuts.mp4, all the rest of that.
Yeah.
It's like, are you rounding yourself out? You're like, I can get to there, and then just like fade to black.
Oh, you mean like are you talking about ending the comic?
Yeah.
I get the feeling I'm going to be doing this for a long time because there's so much story to tell. The story takes so long to tell, even though, like I said, it's really simple in my head. Yeah, we've got a little ways to go right now. And like I said, I'm looking forward to, or like I mentioned on the site, I'm looking forward to taking a couple of months, taking things a little easier, going back to more of just the humor, just the guys hanging out. That's kind of why the structure of the safe house is there, as a way for me to kind of put the story just on hold, just long enough for me to take it easy, get some space to plan out the next big phase, maybe get some books into production, and still keep the strip fun. The unfortunate side effects is having to move Gwyn and Ailey out of the story. So for reasons you'll find out, I can't just pile them into the safe house with the group. And it's almost nice to go back to, I mean, this is the original cast. I mean, with just Torg, Riff, and Zoe and Bum Bum, and with maybe a little Kiki thrown in. It's like, really going old school, and it's kind of nice to see what I can do with that again.
From a businessy perspective, are you finding that you're getting a lot of new readers at this point, or is it a lot of just maintenance of the old class of people?
It's maintenance of the old. I mean, the strips are really not what I would consider accessible by any means. I mean, you tell someone you have to read 14 years of strips, it's almost like you have to check that into the Geneva Convention to make sure it's legal, to do that to someone. And I understand that. The readership stayed strong, and so at this point, I'm not worried about. I'm not worried about not being able to make a living long enough to see it to its end. But I also know at the same time, like, geez, I wish I could make it more accessible. One of the problems there is I have all these ideas to redesign the site, but the guy who's been helping me the whole time, who set everything up and has got everything going so smoothly, he's so busy, he doesn't have a lot of time. And to tell you the truth, I don't know exactly how to bring someone else in and like passing the baton of the person who created the whole system, maintains the server and everything. But like, if I could do that, and I had enough money to pay someone, I might rebuild the whole system. So instead of on dates, it was set up as books, because you could say, hey, you want to read like 14 books? Yeah, sure. You want to read 14 years of comics? Oh my God, no. You see the difference there? So I think there's things I could do to make it more accessible, but I don't really think let me put it this way. You'll know I have enough free time on my hands to really consider pursuing that kind of thing when all the books are caught up. That'll be your first bellwether sign that I have enough time on my hands to get around to doing all the stuff I want to. The current book has strips from 7 years ago. I'm just saying, the one I just put out last year. There's Ghosts in the Gas Tank. That was a little while back.
I keep trying to get my wife to read, and she's like, "I'll send you 14 no, I got books. I got
See?
books.
See?
I like the first 6 books. They're all done and everything."
Yeah.
It's like, that's great. When's the book? I was like, no.
See, not much has happened since then.
That's why God invented iPads.
Mm.
Is there a Sluggy Reader iPad app? 'Cause that'd be a really good idea.
Not at the moment. Again, it's I have this giant to-do list of things that I would like to have happen, and there's so.
Pile on.
What?
We'll just pile on, few more things.
Yeah.
You should crowdsource all of this. Put it up on the main page. Hey, I'm looking for a volunteer to be awesome and help me out. So I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there who are trying to develop for the iPad who don't know how to get started. Maybe this can be something they use in their portfolio. It would be a great feather in anyone's cap.
One of the problems there is, and I've gone this route before, is what happens is you get a lot of people who say they're going to do certain things and don't follow through with it. And I tend to be bad at correspondence, so it's almost like I need someone to manage the people that would do that, and then I need to find that manager, and then so it's a good idea. It's just, and occasionally,
I'll do it. Have your people call my people.
there you go.
Contract.
Yep.
This might be a weird question, but has your database, like how you store your archive material, changed over time, or have you had challenges as like gaming that's gone on as far as anything like keeping like the main database of your entries?
Like I said, I have somebody who kind of takes care of most of that stuff for me. When I first started, I was just doing straight HTML and just uploading one manual build page at a time. And then the friends of mine at that time, Big Panda House, they were doing stuff for all the old webcomics, Mertza Campos and Nukies and all that stuff. And they built the system for me to my specs, and then they managed the database. And then Sure Guy Tom took over. Now, since Rit took over, we moved to Mongo Database, which is doing a tremendous job from what I can tell. And now he got a job at Mongo Database, actually, after putting Sluggy to that. Now he's jet setting all over the place. Can't remember his friends. But, hey, guys, yeah, he just sent me pictures from, he was hanging out a company trip to, like, the Arctic off the north coast of Norway. I was like, yeah, that sounds, actually, it sounds a little cold. I kind of miss the beach, when I thought Irene-soaked beach, but before it hit. Sorry, I was distracted by that phone ring. Is it important? Okay. Sorry to interrupt you.
To get back to the story, you sort of touched on it this week and last week, but how are you going to handle Torg's growth? Because it seems like he grows emotionally and then gets back to being stupid or appearing stupid.
Right. Well, everything that happened to Torg is still there. It's just almost he is more comfortable not worrying about things being a little goofy and not being critical of his own actions and the implications. That's like where he is, where he's comfortable. He needs to be put out of his comfort zone to shine, basically, and he'll shine next time that happens. But he's going to stay pretty much goofy until then. Oh, unless Sam shows up, because Torg instantly gets a lot smarter as soon as Sam walks in the door. I mean, they have two completely different types of stupid, but it's almost like Torg doesn't want to step on toes, so he smartens up a little when Sam walks in. It's true. I miss Sam. I love writing for Sam. And I still want to go back to what he's doing right now. I want to do Sampire 2 for the Defenders too. That's another thing on the pile list, because Sam is one of my favorite characters to write for. Almost diametrically opposed, Gwen is my other favorite character to write for, because she's got so much depth to her, and she's just such a great three-dimensional character. Which reminds me that, I always said, if I was ever stuck on a story and I didn't know what to write, I would just put Torg and Gwen in an elevator and have it break down. And I would just sit back and let the characters three-dimensionally go. I wouldn't have to write a thing. I just put them in the situation and let them go. Torg would do some meaningless jab that he found humorous. He would take it the wrong way and start getting violent. He would respond to that in the wrongest way possible, and then probably end up with them making out or something. I'm not sure. I'm not sure because I haven't done it yet. But when that happens in the strip, you'll know, oh, Pete's out of ideas. He stuck Torg and Gwen in the elevator.
Do you have any items that you put in almost as a throwaway that you
think there's room for what you're suggesting. I can't think of an example offhand, but yeah, the further away it is, in most cases, the more general it's written. So there's wiggle room to insert things or adjust things. Okay, one example that I thought of was that Bert was supposed to die in Kitten. And there was a huge clamoring from the fan base saying, "Don't kill Bert, don't kill Bert." And I'm like, ha ha, I don't listen to you. But I suddenly felt like I was missing, I hadn't wrote Bert for so long, and when I was writing him in the story, I was so much fun to write for him. I was like, I can't have him go away. I want to write for Bert a little bit longer. It was like, well, how am I supposed to have him survive being attacked by a, satanic kitten? It's like, baboon crotch transplant. It's perfect. I'm doing it. And so that's why Bert was saved. And thus Bert was introduced when he wasn't meant to be in the next set of storylines. So there is room to do that in the way I write for most cases. And
I just, on the same kind of line, is there a character that you introduced being, like, a character that was supposed to be insignificant, but then it became significant for you? Like a throwaway, just one story arc kind of.
I can't say for sure whether Sam fit that bill after the vampire story, but I don't think so. I think all the ones that I wanted to be solid were solid. Yeah, no, I can't think of any. Can you think of any that seemed like characters that might have been throwaway that I turned
well,
into?
Sam is like, an example. He kind of
Yeah.
seemed like, he like kind of moved into a position that he didn't necessarily think he was going to start out in.
Yeah.
With that storyline in particular.
Well, you know what? I can't. Part of the problem is it was so long ago. It's hard for me to remember exactly. I know when I first started the strip, I didn't have the long arcs begun because I was testing new ground. I was like, my friends got me a scanner. I knew how the internet works. I'm studying to be a comic book artist, which, by the way, this was not my style for the comic book pages. It was pretty crappy. But while I was trying to make my way as like a freelance web designer, trying to get into comic books, I'm like, well, let me do a daily comic strip and have some fun with it. So that's how it started. And then relatively early on, I started realizing what I could do with it. And it's probably around the sci-fi adventure that I was like, oh, well, if I could do this, maybe I can do something further, because I'm not stuck with having to reset the story every single day like a newspaper strip. I can rely on the archives to tell bigger stories, and that's when I started doing it. So at some point, the vampire story came to mind, and that's when Sam probably would have went from a relatively outside character that maybe didn't have any future to being a significant element in future tales. So he may have been the first case of that, but like I said, it was so long ago, it's hard for me to remember. And true story, the original Riff had a goatee, the original Riff that I designed, but he didn't from the first strip because that was when Dolly the goat had been cloned. That's how far back it goes. So I thought I would later have Riff do some goat cloning, and all the characters would get goats, and then he would somehow fix it, and everyone would lose it except for his, and he would keep his goat. So that was always, and that was a story that never got to. So Riff has stayed clean shaven ever since.
Good choice.
Yeah.
And cultivate Rick get the goat just because you like it.
Yep. Exactly.
And he'd make a different goatee.
Yeah. Also, because that makes him evil.
Was Oasis's resurrection part of the problem? I thought
Oh.
the history was that she was originally going to die off and then.
Oh, no. Oasis, from the first time that she was on the page, I knew everything there is to know about her, and I haven't deviated from that path. So yeah, everything you've seen that I've done with Oasis has been part of a plan. She's solid. In fact, I'm kind of proud because like I said, it's more general the further you go out. Oasis, I'm like sat down a book and like, okay, this is the deal, and this is what it's going to be. I'm just amazed it's taken me this long to tell the whole thing. I would have thought I would have been through it, years back, and it still keeps surprising people. The way I originally set it up was, this will be a surprise, and then this will happen, and they'll think this, and then I'll do that, and it's all falling into place exactly as I had masterfully planned it, just taking a decade longer than originally planned.
Can we look forward to another year in the life of a villain series of sketches in the new year?
I would say yes, if that's the best way to carry events towards research and development, or if that's the tool I think is the best way to show what's going on there. Because I know what happens, but when I get down to it, I'm not sure whether I'm going to have to judge whether that's going to be the best way to do it. Because what I don't want to have happen that happened in For You City was the week. It was only I did such huge panels to make sure it was only a week, but the week of Old Riff Exposition. I hate that when I'm stuck with it, but I just didn't see a better option. At least one that wouldn't take a full month to do.
Still like a Band-Aid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But even the long exposition strips, at least they work in the archive. Like when you go back and read through, they're not quite the same as when you're waiting 24 hours to find out what happens next. And he's still flapping his gums.
Are you planning on revisiting the poorly timed Avatar parody?
Refresh my memory.
You,
Oh.
going on, and the Big Boss had the Avatar going on.
You the movie Avatar with it being gateway to furry. Yeah. Well, what? Why was that poorly timed? I thought that was perfectly timed. My wife's watching Oprah, and Cameron is on Oprah. She's like, look at this, you like Avatar? And he's sitting there, and then they put Oprah up as a Na'vi there. And he goes, wow, Oprah, you make one hot Na'vi. I'm like, there it is. You're saying they're supposed to be hot. They're supposed to be, they're blue, they're furry, and you think they're hot. I know what you're up to. I know what you're up to. You put action figures in the toy stores, you're a bad man. Oh, great, now it's on tape. But yeah, when
It
you
was current, but in terms of the storyline, we were waiting for something to happen.
you know what, I did that at this point I'm so removed from that point of the story that I don't even remember what it was that was cliffhangering on that I shot to it for. So I can't tell you what it might have been that I wasn't ready to go ahead with it yet, or I need more prep work, so I decided to do this as a quick to write time buyer for me. And when you first said Avatar, I was mixed up because since then we checked out the Last Airbender, the cartoon series. They put the whole thing out on Netflix, and I've been so blown away by that that's what I think of when I think of Avatar now. There's a new one coming out in November too, right? I think it's November. Yeah, that was a great series.
Like, that's the stuck. Yeah, that one off drawing.
Oh yes,
yeah, that
yes.
is
It's Festucks.
I was showing that, I was like, what the? Oh!
You know, what's really freaky is my youngest kid's into Backyardigans, and the little penguin in Backyardigans is voiced by the same guy who does Aang. So whenever the little penguin's singing this song, I'm hearing the airbenders like breaking out into tunes, and it's just really, really surreal. That's true.
What about the Harry Potter parody?
There will, I am pretty darn sure, despite the fact I'm way behind on the movies, that there will be more Harry Potter parodies, because I love them. I love them so much. I know what I'm going to do for the next one. It's just, now I've had such serious stories since Broken started. It's been hard to like elbow in a Harry Potter parody where it needed to be. So I'm not sure when it'll happen. I might be able to squeeze one in during the Safe House series.
Stealing from the safe house.
Well, it's a possibility, because the next one I see as being a relatively short one. I think I can tell what I have to tell really quickly for it, and it's really funny. And the next one, the Half-Blood Prince, will take a little more work, because we're up to Order of the Phoenix in the parodies. And like I said, I know what I'm going to do, and it's damn funny. By the way, I love the last one with the wizard wand duel where Torg's wand is a Winchester shotgun. It's just so like.
What's the name of it?
What was the name of the parody?
Of the next parody.
Oh, what is the name of it? I'm not sure. I be honest, I would tell you what it is right now, except I'm not sure I like it enough, and I think I might be able to find a better one, but I haven't in all the time since I came up with it. So I don't want to say it now. What?
You'll tell us off camera?
Yeah, maybe I'll tell you. Maybe I'll tell you off camera. It has to do with a Chinese food menu. I'll just say that much. Yeah, you can use your imagination. You can kind of see where that's going.
No cease and desist letters from Ronald.
No, not yet. Not yet. Well, I've changed plenty of it. I mean, the characters all changed. The story is like completely, almost totally different, except for where it's a completely legal parody under the Constitution.
You suddenly like need lawyer.
No, actually, I have one of those. So
Oh.
yeah, it's nice to have. They're nice when they're on your team.
Especially after that Avatar, where it's just like, are you?
Yeah.
Any minute, camera's gonna break down.
You know, I've never, I don't think I've got any, like, cease and desist letters for anything I've done from the beginning. I think I've had a pretty good run of you know, just doing things that are within the parody laws and that type of thing. You would have thought, well, after all these years and all the stuff I did, someone would have said something, but no, no one said nothing yet. So far so good. Knock on whatever material this happens to be.
Do you have a big file of Corsica deaths somewhere you just pull from? You know, like all the 100 ways the various Corsicas died?
No, I came up with that in like. I'm pretty sure what happened was I came up with a couple of them. I thought they were good, but I came up with a bunch of rejected ones. I realized I had enough of them I could make it into a weekend run, and also like put them all together in the book. In the book, it's all going to be numbered in order all the way through. That's the other thing, which is so funny that I'm behind on books. I now do my layouts in book pages, so I always have the book in mind that will be coming out. So as soon as I get through the next couple of books, they should just like feed themselves in and just be ready to lay out as is, pretty much. So yeah, I think I mapped out a few pages of what it would look like with all the Corsicas in line, and then started doing them as weekends. They were a lot of fun too, but they were pretty much written pretty quickly back to back.
Does that mean Corsica #1 has a spot to come?
Maybe. I don't know what you're talking about. I actually, I have plans for Corsica 1, but I can't get into those right now. You understand?
Yes. You can do what Jim Bushy does. I'm not gonna tell you.
Exactly. That would be a clever way to say it. It was a little more awake. You got a question?
No, you mentioned at some point if Ghost in the Gas Tank went well, as a publishing system you were going to go and did go well.
Went perfect. It went flawless, and I'm so happy that I found them. And I'm so pissed that I wasn't able to take this year, where I'm doing very few conventions, this and one other. I thought I would be rolling in books because they're ready to print them. They're ready to go. They can print as many as they need on demand. I don't have to worry about what the sales are going to be because, let's be honest, I'm putting out books that have stripped 7 years old. Demand's not going to be the same as if I just put out For You City the book. So this takes all that off my hands. The books are supreme quality. I just found my first printing mistake, and I contacted them. They already sent replacement books, no question asked. Like they're really doing things by the book, by the business, treating me well, dealing with customers that have issues. Well, it's great. Yeah. So the only thing holding me back is me having time and me writing some easier stories for a few weeks so I can, move ahead. I'm gonna get 7 and 8 back in print. That's the first thing because those are like ready to go. And 7, there's some. By the way, total segue. If any of you don't have book 8, we're selling book 8 at my table for $10 because we have a bunch of books with lamination errors that just the cover has like extra lamination lines on it, but they're fine. They're only $10 if you want to grab a book 8 before we get rid of those and start selling you new ones at 25 or whatever it's going to be. But yeah, having said that, by Christmas I'm hoping to have 7, 8, and 11 available. That's my hope. But at the beginning of I'd say a year ago today, I would be saying, yeah, we'll have 7 and 8, we'll have 11, 12, maybe 13. So not so much. But soon, yes, printer worked. It's awesome. Books soon as I can.
It sounds like the way you were discussing it, that you have a lot of stories to go on for a while, that there is an ultimate end of everything. Do you have plans for something after, or are you planning for vacation after?
Well, to be honest with you, it's almost like that's a decision I don't have to make till I get there. So instead of deciding, if I said that's where the strip ends and I don't end it, that seems kind of lame. If I say I'm not going to end the strip and then I'm like, okay, I'm tired, I'm ending it now, that doesn't work either. The name of the game is for me to get all the storylines wrapped up, everything I've been building up to and everything I've been planning to the point of culmination. And then when that's over and done, with whatever's left, I can decide. I have at my option to just continue that if that's what I want to do, or just say that was a perfect place to end it and then leave it. So I can't tell you what it's going to be. I just know it's going to be a long, 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 long time from now at the rate I'm putting these stories out.
Guys, that 14 years putting together a story, that's a very disconcerting sentence.
Mm.
Are there any other webcomics out there that either you read or that have impressed you with how they run themselves?
Well, there's a lot. It's tough for me. There's a lot of web cartoonists that I know and that I like and whose work I like, but I don't really have time to follow just about any of them. The one exception used to be Order of the Stick because I love that strip, and Rich would send me his books, and he hasn't sent me the last 2, so I'm gonna have to yell at him next time I see him. But getting me the books in book form is the key, because then when I find myself at an airport or going on vacation or something, I can just grab one of those books and kind of kick back and catch up quicker than I can, on the computer, because the computer's also where I do all my work. It's almost like not where I want to sit back and read as much. Yeah, I think it's kind of silly to read stuff on the computer, actually. I'm against it. Oh, wait a second. Oh, no. Right, never mind. Strike that. Erase that from the tape. And the Cameron thing, too. Get it out off the tape. Yeah, and so one of my goals while I'm here is to pick up Earthworld. I want to get the Earthworld books, and yeah, I'm drawing blanks on names all of a sudden. Gilded Age. I don't want to get Gilded Age, and I've got to get caught up with Howard Taylor, because I keep hearing so much wonderful stuff about Schlock Mercenary, and unless I sit down with the books, I'm never going to get around to reading it. But we haven't crossed paths as much lately. So yeah, let's see, who else? I love Bill Holbrook. He's here. He's awesome. Other web strips. Nope, drawing a blank. Oh, well, sorry, too much dead air. Let's just move on to the next question.
One idea that you could have, the ones after you finish the strip, is have like a Kiki adventure.
When I'm done with the complete strip, and then just do, but then I'll be like 87 years old, and
That's okay.
my eyes will be all like Charles Schultz, a little shaky, and I'll be done. Yeah, could work. What?
You can cover them all aging.
What? Too soon?
Yeah, stick figure.
Yeah. Well, that just brought up this question that I wasn't asked was we talked about future Torque Potters, but we didn't talk about future Kitten, because I was thinking we're past due for Kitten 3, but I want to get Shirkai Tom to draw it and call it like Kitten 3. This time I'm just in it for the money. And he'd draw it in bad stick figures. There'd be no continuity. It's like he'd be played by a guy. It'd just be like, when you get that third part to the movie that's like no one even looked at the script for the first two movies before they hacked it together in some cheesy way. What? There you go. Yeah. So and then my plan was, after Shirkai Tom did Kitten 3, I jumped right ahead to Kitten 10, Kittens in Space, where if like he comes out of cold storage, like, how long have I been under? For like 7 parodies. Oh my God. But yeah, put that on the pile that we're stacking up.
Or the I'm sick, do something.
Yeah.
When not actually working on a comic, what does Pete Abrams do with his spare time? Is it all parenting, or is that?
Well, yeah, I try to have time to like hang out and do stuff. It's just there's not a lot of it. I do spend a lot of time taking care of my kids, and playing with the kids, and spend time with the wife, and doing Pete. Oh, that reminds me of the side story I wanted to tell you about my sinus infection. Should I go with that, or should I keep saying? Yeah, I do get a little bit of time on the Xbox. I do get a little bit of time to socialize with friends, and I get little bits of everything. But a lot of times it seems like it's hard to mix as much. I feel like I'm running a lot of the time, probably more than I should, because I want to do everything. I want to play the new Munchkin game when it comes out. I want to go hit my local outdoor beer garden, because it's like Oktoberfest almost, and the weather's nice. But I can only do what I can. So here's the story about the sinus infection. All right. I had sinus infection, so I was taking a lot of medicine for it. It was drying me out like a lot, and I got a bloody nose in like this nostril. It just started. I guess it got slightly damaged. It's bleeding a little bit. It's no big deal. I didn't care about it. Later that night, we were going to meet the teachers at my daughter's she's first junior high school. And so we're meeting the math. We're moving place to place, and we moved to the math room, and we're sitting down here, and here's the table, and the math teacher's right there, saying how, like, if your kid doesn't bring a pencil, we're going to stone them, and then we're going over this thing and that thing, and suddenly I feel this little tickle in my throat, like I'm going to cough, and like, uh-oh, but wife gave me a cough drop, so I grabbed for the cough drop. I'm opening the paper. It's like, no, it's coming in too fast. This won't work. There's no time. I pop the cough drop. It's not working. It's not working. I can't burst in coughing. She's got a very quiet voice. It's not going to work. So I get up and I kind of like burst out of the room. I go out the door. I cut out into the open field. There's like the open air. There's some people there, and I start coughing like this huge coughing fit. I'm like cough, 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 cough. I come up, my hands are covered in blood. I'm like, oh no, it's like the Matt Damon movie. I'm gonna get my kid bad, so I had to run around the school and find like some boys' room where there's no one around to see me, all like zombie faced. Running in, got myself cleaned up. Everything was fine. I managed to walk back in, and I didn't have any problem for the rest of the day. But wow, that was just like of all the it was like the beginning of all your favorite zombie movies. They were gonna take my head off. But yeah, so that's my sinus infection story. So, any other questions not relating to illness and coughing blood everywhere? No, it's kind of a conversation killer, huh?
It's kind of a conversation killer, I mean.
Yeah, I was about to say. Not actually a zombie though.
Check.
Isn't that what a zombie would say?
Not really.
They say brains.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I do have a question. Was Zoas then like planned? Like you planned to stick her on a broomstick for years?
I actually, before I started doing Sluggy Freelance, I had written a space epic in which there was going to be a space station that was filled with zombies, and they were like, oh no, it's filled with zombies, but they suddenly realized the zombies were way too slow, and so they weren't any threat at all, and so the guys started playing with the zombies. From that, you got the Mummy comic, where the mummy's taking forever to come at them. That's where that came from. And Zombie Head on a Stick was one of the, at some point, Zombie Head on a Stick was something that, it was started off as a soccer ball zombie, where the one character would kick the zombie head across camera. You just hear him going, he flew by the doorway. The one time the guy was good. Again, this is like, it was almost like a toward riff thing. I mean, I think a lot of strip money came from this movie thing I was writing, but the one guy had actually tied a zombie to a chair and put a princess hat on it, and said, "I'll save you, Princess Brains," and started fighting off the other zombies. Just because they were bored on the space station, they were looking for parts to fix their ship, and there was nothing to do, so you'd play with the zombies. It's, they weren't very fast. Their muscles weren't working very well.
And then top 10 uses for Zoas kind of came out of that.
Yeah, actually. By the way, I have this vivid image of trying to change the light bulbs, because there would just be like this sizzling sound. I know, this is wrong, right? It's like coughing blood all over at the school. It's not. I'm a sick man. I'm not well.
Now we have so many nanites. Is your desire to not be sick anymore?
Exactly. Actually, an interesting story from LibertyCon. One of the guys I met there, who's now he's a friend of mine. He was saying how he's kind of the go-to guy for sciencey things at Bain Publishing. Like if the author they wanted to do something like how to make this scientifically accurate. He's the guy, and he had just finished designing something that was like a match for Nanite 3.0. He's like, when they accuse you of me ripping you off, I didn't. I had the idea first, way before I read it in the comic. So yeah, Nanite 3.0. You'll be seeing that at Bain soon. And it also means that 3.0 nanites actually make sense to scientists, which scare me.
Second vote.
Mm.
Making sense.
Yeah. It's kind of scary, though. Yeah, well, you know what? And that guy told me some stories I can't tell you on camera, but yeah, it's a scary, scary world.
Do they have to do with inflatable hover bikes?
No, but that would be awesome. Of all my ideas that could come to fruition, the little capsule-sized inflatable hover bikes, I think those would be the best. Yeah.
Is there any chance of getting another story set in the Puniverse, which I know would kill you?
No, I'm afraid that's kind of. I did reference those aliens though in the bonus story for book. Was it book 8? I think you see a cameo with the waffle aliens from the Puniverse. Puniverse itself is actually kind of destroyed, but because I'm looking at redoing book 7, which involved the Puniverse. I came up with like a self-playing board game where you play against the board. You're basically all of Gophodron's body parts, and you have to retrieve his crotch before the space puppy destroys the universe. So the puppy's going across, and Torgy and Riff are flying around in Gophodron's crotch. You have to find it, form Gophodron, and stop the puppy. And it's worked pretty well on game testing. It's just a solo, can you beat the board before the universe blows up game. Did any of you guys have book 7?
What was that?
It was the one. It was a Very Big Bang. It has the whole Gophodron sequence.
Oh,
Yeah, the bonus story in the back, Guakins in space. I loved it when they were going for like the ship's crashing and they're like, everyone, there's not enough lifeboats. There's not enough lifeboats for the rich. And you see these rich Walkins in top hats and pearls going out of the ship in these rowboats, gasping for air. It's like, thank God they didn't use the life pods, and everyone else runs to the life pods. Yeah, you should, guys. You should get that when I reprint that eventually. Oh, how are we fixed for time? Does anyone have the?
10 minutes.
All right. Well, I'm here for the next panel anyway, so it's not like I'm going anywhere. Any other questions?
Why is it that characters stay roughly the same age in comics, even though they're not grown, as opposed to why don't we ever see the characters getting middle age, old age?
Well, the stretch between, once you hit adulthood, the aging is so gradual, it's tough to perceive. Where you look at the interjector, just snag the next question.
Yeah, I'm interjecting this one.
All right, go ahead.
Whatever you do, don't do for better or for worse. That drove me nuts.
Ah, okay, very good. Well, I wouldn't do that anyway, but it seems like time is moving so much slower for the characters. That doesn't feel like I should move it exactly with the clock. And also the aging is less noticeable when you're at that age. But like, for example, if we were to run into Jaya again, she would be much older because of the time that passed. And even, I didn't show, did I show Sally Bobley? Because Sally Bobley was referenced in For You City, the alternates. And she would be much older, or would she? Complication, plot question. Or don't know the answer. Anywho, yeah, the kids would age at a reasonable rate, but still not year to year because I couldn't get out enough story in any given year to actually fill up what would be considered a year of their lives. So that's my best answer.
And what about Kiki and Bunny?
Well, Kiki, ferrets don't have long lifespans, and rabbits aren't much better. So yeah, I'm going to keep them around. I'm not going to bother aging them. Besides, how would you show that, really? Like a little beard and a walking stick for Kiki. That'd be very cute. Mm-hmm.
Are you prepared for the day when your kids start reading the archives and start giving you ideas?
Well, I have that problem where my daughter's very, very curious about reading the strip. I said it's not quite for her age group, and I want her to read stuff that's targeting to her, where I don't really think Sluggy is. But I know there's lots of kids that read Sluggy. I mean, I've had lots of whole families come up and it's all cool and everything. But yeah, I'm prepared for it. I mean, it's good stuff. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that answer. I know I'm going to keep my 4-year-old away from the strip because she's too much like Bun Bun. Yeah. I know it's on tape, Sarah. I love you, but yeah. When you see us years later, yeah. Yeah, she's very Bun Bun like. It's very adorable, awesomely cute, and so wonderful. But there's a little dangerous side to her that we just have to watch out for.
Switchblade.
Yeah, maybe.
I want ice cream, Dad.
Yeah.
Definitely no kidding. For a long time.
Yeah, no kittens. All right, do we have any other, we're getting towards the end, I guess. No questions? I don't really, oh, we got one.
Okay, have you thought about any other crazy merchandise, like for example, a board game, like actually a board game cover?
I don't have time to do it. What I have in the works, it's been in the works for a long time, is I have Torque maquettes I had sculpted. They're 3-inch tall. I was going to start doing a series of the characters in like 3-inch busts. And I've had problems getting them turned into sculpts. And it's the kind of thing where I can't chase after them. The sculpt's done, the mold maker's giving me trouble, and I don't use the mold maker anymore, so I have to figure out how to get the sculpt back from them, but I don't know if the sculpt was destroyed in the mold making process, and so I have to, but I'm still trying to get the books done. And the other side is the Sluggy role-playing game. Now, Brett's been working on the Sluggy role-playing game for years, and it is awesome, but he can't seem to give it to me done enough to actually, and now with Kablam, I can just print it up, get it out there. But there's like these last steps that always seem to show up that slow down the process. So, yeah, I would love to do a board game, but there's just, I think I am happy if I can keep the comic at the quality that I have that I like, and just get the books out. So that's my main priority.
It was print revision 1. Fans, you keep that.
Of the role playing game.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that probably would make
Print revision 2.
Well, you know what it is? We got through the whole book and we got to the character sheets, and the character sheets need some layout and design, so he's letting me do that while he did some rework on the riff section. So it was kind of like the ball was like left in my court a little bit, but I'm like, we can find someone to do the character sheets. I'm sure we can find someone to do the character sheets. And I guarantee you, if I finished it now, I did the character sheets, you'd be like, oh, let me change this one thing over here in the magic system. There's systems where you can play a total Gwyn type magic user, you can play a total riff type inventor, and it works. And the game system is fun, and it feels like you're in a Sluggy comic, because you don't even play the characters from the strip, you make your own characters, but it like has this built-in insanity to it that plays through. It's always a blast. So someday you may find out about it on that sack. So what time? I'm not sure. Like it. Yeah, 3 minutes? Okay, I'm not sure when the next panel comes in, which is 2 other people to keep talking. But if any of you have anything that you wanted me to sign while I was here or anything like that, sometimes people have that. If no, you do, it's fine. If you guys have a book or something you want me to sign, I'd be happy to do that at this
Do you have
point.
things for us to buy for you to sign?
Yeah, and in the dealer's room, there's like I said, there's the new book 10s that are out. They're not new; they've been out for almost a year. I just missed last year's intervention with them. Like I said, there's the book 8s with lamination damage are only $10. We got plush bun buns, but for the plush bun buns, we have a couple of Minion Master masks that Alyssa made for when Bun Bun from Slugween. We had a couple of those left over, so I brought those to sell. Some Jane hats, if you're Firefly fans, that fit the bun buns nicely. And my friend Gloria just made some bun bun fezzes, because fezzes are cool for bun bun. So definitely check out the booth, and you'll see some cool stuff. See you later.
I'll be back and send you stuff.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go buy a bun bun with a fez. There's not a lot of the ones with the fez. And fezzes are cool. No, well, of course there's Kiki's, but you're right. Kiki always gets kind of short shrift. Sorry, it's just I know Bun Bun's the best seller. I get the feeling you guys are Kiki fans. Yeah. No, I get the feeling you're both Kiki fans.
Oh, I had the brain. Sorry about the Kiki.
Yeah. Your ears match. I like how your ears match Kiki with the Jane hat on. Oh, you can show everyone the Jane hat, by the way. Could you hold up your Kiki? Is he attached? Yeah. So you can get those over at the Sluggy booth. Well, I guess we've covered everything. Is there any last questions? Are you guys still enjoying the strip?
Yeah.
They do a good, okay job here? All right.
My employer's upset with me when I started going through the archives, but it's okay otherwise.
Well,
No, they're not really. But if they actually monitored my web traffic, they'd probably look.
yeah. Well, one of the things I would hear the most is about Sluggy either getting people fired or ruining their GPAs. So I often, when they say I love your strip, I'm like, you're welcome and I'm sorry. Apply those in your lives wherever it's appropriate. But, well, all right. Well, you guys can all applaud me now. Let's hear it.